Time for the 49ers Rush Podcast. And here's your host, John Chapman.
What is going on, faithful? It is absolutely incredible to be with you guys. And man, Wayne, I'm glad to have you here because we need to talk this through. This episode is titled State of the 49ers After the Loss. It's been a while. We had the longest win streak in the NFL. No longer do we. We have fallen to 11-4. We're going to talk about ramifications, playoffs, positives, negatives, all kinds of things. But Wayne, real quick, what is your overall assessment coming off that loss, that butt kicking on Christmas in prime time? That's what bothers me.
I don't think I've had the ability to fully assess what we watched because I was so stuck in shock mode because what I was watching I've never seen before. Right? So even in the 3 losses prior to this, we've never seen them lose and like that. And then you could say that the Ravens are a great team. Well, I mean, we played some great teams in those losses. Let's not act like Cleveland Browns weren't number 1 in the division at the time we played them. Let's not act like the Minnesota Vikings weren't top of their division going head to head with Detroit when we played them. And let's not act like the Cincinnati Bengals weren't probably won when we played them. But it just seemed like I couldn't explain this. I couldn't explain those losses. Those losses made sense. This loss, it just clearly just was, it was like I wasn't watching the San Francisco 49ers. So when people were hitting me up and asking me, I was trying my hardest to be positive about everything. But, I mean, it was just such a negative vibe to the whole game, John.
It felt that way. You know, I brought the family and we were at the game, which was a really cool experience. But at the same time, it was just it didn't take long for it to get weird. And it just had this weird feeling around it. We're going to break it down. I want to say thank you to everybody in the chat. Love it. Don comes in, run CMC, dang it. Yeah, that was a big one. And I love all the hashtag CCs. Appreciate everybody coming through and all the hashtag BBs for the Breezy Brunch. And if you guys have not subscribed to Wayne's channel, you got to go do so. It's in the link in the description video. It's the very first thing you see. And we're going to get to as many questions as we possibly can. But I wanted to start off with probably the most important thing. Let's deal with the injury talk. Let's go through those and what the ramifications are. Because, look, as bad as this game was, and it was bad, this isn't going to determine the path of the 49ers. They are still the 1 seed. We'll talk more about that. I care more about the long-term lasting effects of these injuries. So here's Kyle breaking them down. And then, Wayne, I want to hear from you which one you think is the most important.
Injuries from the game. Trent Williams had a groin, didn't return. Lamar had a concussion, didn't return. Brock Purdy, stinger, didn't return. Aaron Banks, toe, didn't return. And Ambry Thomas, the hamstring.
All right. So which one of those kind of stood out? Let's break them down. There's 5 that we got to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Trent Williams groin injury, and it's because it's a groin injury. And it's because it's Trent Williams. And it's because it's Trent Williams at this time of the season, which is something we normally see. This is a groin injury. Something he hasn't really dealt with all season. The question is, how is that MRI going to come back? Did he tear something in the groin? We're all praying that he didn't. I don't believe that he did because he literally wanted to come back. You could tell he was trying to come back. He probably could have played in this game if he wanted to. Yeah. I think the San Francisco 49ers felt like they had a great option with Lamar being that left tackle, but then he goes out and gets a concussion. So, it was just I don't know, the never injury story for the San Francisco 49ers in this game. And when do the 49ers play their worst football? Yeah. How about when their players get injured? I mean, you can say that about any team, but man, you lose your left tackle, which is the best player for the 49ers offensively on that line, and maybe even on the team. It just changes the whole dynamic of the football game.
And when you stack injuries, I mean, this is like, if I had a pull string doll, John Chapman's like, don't stack injuries in the same position. And it's like you lose your left tackle. The very next drive, you lose your backup left tackle. Then you lose your left guard. And it's like, good Lord, you only have 8 offensive linemen called up on a given game. And now you're down to your final 5. We're shuffling chairs. I mean,
John, we saw Ben Barch get snaps.
And on top of that, they waived Matt Pryor right before kickoff to make room for Jason Verrett. And
you can't make this up, right? Like you can't you can't make it up. Not to say that Matt Pryor would have been a huge difference, but at least he was with his team this whole time, and he would have had some type of continuity inside that offensive line, on that offensive line, some type of continuity, right? But unfortunately, he was waived right before the game started.
It got bad. What's up, Devi? Appreciate everybody in the chat. Really do appreciate you guys. And yeah, right here. Good day, Wade. Happy first day of Kwanzaa. Love it, man. Blessings to everybody joining. Love the positivity. And, I'll say this. The Brock injury doesn't really worry me. Didn't seem like it worried Shanahan. I know some people are going to try to run with the Sam Darnold narrative. I don't think that has any weight whatsoever. Do you agree, Wayne? Like this, Brock going to be playing. He seemed fine out there.
Yeah, I mean, look, Brock could have came back in the game as well. He seemed fine health wise. I don't care what you say to me. Mentally, he didn't look good. And
no.
Like, and so I'm all for letting a player kind of like go through the growing pains and get through the motions. But it's okay to take a play off or a series off to get your head right. It wouldn't have changed the game. There's a possibility we could have got a spark from Sam Darnold. And sometimes you just need a spark. So, look, I'm okay that Kyle didn't bench him, but I would have been okay if Kyle did kind of pull him off to the side. And that injury, I mean, come on, he didn't get no damn stinger. That was benching him, and that was the best way you could do it, by blaming it on the injury. Let's just keep it a buck.
Yeah, I mean, it's what it is. And like, I don't even care. My thing is, I think the most lasting injury that's the most concerning is Aaron Banks' toe. I think that's the one.
Is it turf toe?
He had turf toe before, and that's what caused him to miss the 3 games or whatever. That's the one. Now, having said that, he has not been good since he's come back from his turf toe.
Good point. That's a great point.
Not that makes the injury less whatever, but I think as far as long-term issues, this is the one that concerns me the most. Ambry, his hamstring, I don't think that's too concerning, and you do have depth behind him, even though Ambry's been a good surprise this year. But I think the long-term injury, Aaron Banks, I fully expect Trent to play this week. I expect Brock to play this week. Jalen Moore concussion. That's worrisome because it's a short week and you got to fly cross country. So that's
I wouldn't be surprised now, John, if somehow there's a player released and Matt Pryor is brought back, and at least they both voiced up that I wouldn't rush Jalen Moore back from the concussion. But let's just hope going into DC, the 49ers get back some of those pieces. Like, I don't know what the status of Eric Armstead is going to be, but let's hope they get him back, right? Not to say that he needed to be out there on the football field, but with that body type and those long arms, possibly he could have helped get Lamar Jackson on the ground a couple more times than what they did. And so, look, if you can get Eric Armstead back, cool. If not, cool. I thought the 49ers were pretty damn decent against the run. They only gave up 102 rushing yards
and
total.
45 came on one play at the end of the game.
Yeah. So, look, all I'm saying is like these injuries are going to pile on. Let's hope we get Oren Burks. I mean, I know people don't care about Elijah Mitchell, but just getting healthy bodies back there helps. It just helps.
Yeah, I think so as well. And, I appreciate everybody in the chat. It's popping. I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for coming through, all the members and everybody. This is awesome. And, let's go to Brock Purdy. Let's do this. Let's get to Brock talk. Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the interceptions. Let's talk about, he went from MVP favorite to 4 interceptions. And we're going to talk about each one of those interceptions. But overall, this was by far Brock Purdy's worst game, probably not for sure as a pro.
His career.
Maybe of his entire high school, college. NFL. And it was on one of the biggest stages.
Yeah, and, the lights were out. And usually Brock performs well underneath the lights. It just looked like he was a deer stuck in headlights after the first interception because Here's the thing. The first interception was on him. And he knew that. And we don't know what was being said to him, but he was in his own head. I know, and it happens. It happens to me, John. It happens to you. Like, you get stuck in your own head and you become your own worst critic. And next thing you know, you're overcompensating. Now, the same way we thrashed a kicker, a rookie, for missing field goals because he was trying to overcompensate is the same smoke you got to give to the leader of your team, which is the quarterback, Brock Purdy. This is not bashing him, but this is a way he has to go out there and get better. It just seemed like after the first interception, he couldn't shake it off. And I didn't understand after that first interception why Kyle Shanahan had to be so damn pass heavy. And so that's why I was scratching my head, because at the half, the ratio was 18-10. And I know that don't seem like it's far up. That's 8 more pass plays to run plays. And in the run game, you were more dynamic. Hell, the Ravens were ranked 10th in stopping the run, and they proved that they couldn't stop the run because they play with 2 damn safeties way back in the middle of the field. So clearly they're playing pass. So help me understand why you just don't run the daggone ball.
You know, you go to that first drive, and you were moving the ball, but there wasn't a running back next to Purdy. No running attempts, no threat of running the ball. And if you look throughout this entire season, and you know, I'm just going to say this, my favorite clip maybe of all time right here.
And us being a one-dimensional football team isn't very good.
I don't know why Kyle doesn't understand that. Like, it's not even that you have to run the ball all the time. The threat of the run freezes the linebackers. The window's all open. And so whenever you do that empty set where and just over and over again, like no threat of running the ball, despite the fact that we average 6.7 yards per carry. Yeah. Kyle gives up on the running game all the damn time.
And Christian McCaffrey's averaging 7.4 yards per carry. And here's the thing I couldn't figure out. So people were saying, you know, and I get it, they got great linebackers. Ask me if I care. Like, that doesn't matter. This is football. You run against the great linebackers. It's not like they're stacking in the box. When John just explained made perfect sense. If you have 0 running backs in the backfield, hey, guess what they're going to do, ladies and gentlemen? They're going to pass the ball. Where's the ding ding? It's common sense. It's common sense. It made 0 sense. When I tell you, John, and I'm not trying to overreact here, but when I tell you I couldn't explain it to a kindergartner, what the hell was going on? My son, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. It didn't even seem like 49ers football. So it doesn't matter if they got Patrick Queen. I ain't hear Roquan Smith the whole game. I ain't hear his name called. It was Patrick McQueen. It was Queen. That was it. So you mean to tell me they couldn't run to the outside? What happened to the outside zone? Ain't that what our team is built off of? Find the clip where George Kittle says, well, hey, if we run it to the outside zone, that's what we should have been doing.
Yeah.
You ain't got to run to the freaking middle of the field.
I'd take any run play. Anytime we run, even if it's for 1 yard, I'm happy because it just opens up. And what was the best drive of the game? CMC, touchdown. I mean, it was simple. And then after that, you abandoned it. You didn't do it before. Afterwards, you abandoned it. You throw the ball. How many times did we throw the damn ball? It was
48
ridiculous.
times total. 48-18.
That's ridiculous. And again, it's not like, I understand that some people are going to be like, well, whenever the game was out of control, there was a point in the third quarter where we threw 4 interceptions and we were only down 4 points.
I didn't understand it. It was 16-12 coming out of the half. Clearly, Kyle Shanahan's game plan was to get more balanced. He ran it. He threw it. He ran it. He threw an interception. Yeah. So, like, no. I'm sorry, not an interception on that first drive. I apologize. It was a run. It was a throw. It was like an incomplete pass. It was an incomplete pass to what's his name? Willie Snead. Then you get a penalty on 4th and 5, which makes it 4th and 10. You punt the ball, and then you get another penalty from Mitch Wisnowski. When I tell you, John, the penalty, like, how do you go from a game with like 2 penalties and then just go straight 10? Like we just can't be consistent in our discipline. There's so many factors to why the 49ers got their asses whipped Literally, there's so many factors.
There was. Let's get to some of these super chats. And, man,
Troy.
shout out to the man, Troy. I'll let you take this one.
Hey, man, he's been a member for 13 months. Troy, you get the air horns. You know how we do. Thank you so much for being a member of the Breezy Bunch crew, man. Appreciate you.
Love it. Super chat for Brandon. Feels strangely calm right now. Does Brock Purdy bounce back, John? Yeah, I'm not concerned about Purdy long term. This was a lot of learning experiences. And, I want to do this. I want to shout out to the man, Juan Salas. He went through, he cut up the film clips and has, kind of superimposed some film on top of these clips. This is Kyle Shanahan going through all 4 interceptions with film on top of it. So if you're just listening audio-wise, again, we'll kind of go back through and explain some of this. But this is a 50-second clip, and it's just a quick look. Every one of these plays with Phil backing it up, what happened?
Yeah, the one that he was off on was the first one. Just read the coverage wrong and didn't expect someone to be back there and made a bad decision on the first one. Second one, the corner made a hell of a play blitzing. He couldn't get it over him. The guy tipped it and ended up making it to himself. The third one, scrambling. I didn't really see what happened on it. I saw the end result. I don't know what happened on the ball, whether 14 made a play, whether they both hit it at the same time. But he broke out of the pocket on a big third down, had George and 14 coming back to him and threw it right at them, and it just bounced up and got another tip. And then the fourth one in the third quarter, and he was making the right decision, going to Christian on a check down, and someone hit him from the right side, and the ball came out sideways and went right to their linebacker. So I thought that, the first one was a big mistake, and the other 3 was pretty unfortunate for him.
So, yeah, I'm not overly concerned about Brock Purdy moving forward. PFF, very similar to what that clip we just said, they only attributed 2 turnover-worthy plays to Brock Purdy. Like, they were some weird plays. Ball batted up. The ball's got to bounce your way. I say this all the time. Sometimes the ball goes your way. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
You take away 2 of those interceptions that were batted up in the air, it's a different ball game. Not saying the 49ers would win, but you only lost by 14, and you were driving to score at the end with Sam Darnold out there. It was going to be a 1-touchdown game. I don't know. I'm not concerned about Brock moving forward.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about him. It's just more like it's just more about his mental. Like Brock, you had your worst game of your life, period. Now you got to get over it. You got to throw it out and come back and take the team in front of you and be better. And who cares if they say, oh, well, he can't do that against a great defense? Don't give a flying fuck about that. You just come out and now throw 8 touchdowns against the Commanders. Like, do what you do. And if Brock does what he does and bees who he bees, then he's going to be just fine. It's not a question. I think 2 of those interceptions were on Brock Purdy. I don't give a fuck if he got hit or not. That interception was on Brock Purdy, just like the first one was on Brock Purdy where he didn't get hit. And if you go back and play that play, it looked like the hit came after he threw the ball. So, yeah, the pressure can affect the pass for sure, but the other ones were bang-bang plays made by the Ravens. The ball pops up in the air for 50 yards. It comes down. It goes to Kyle Hamilton's hands. You can't be mad at that. He made a play. The ball just didn't bounce their way. I know a lot of people are talking about that third one because, George Kittle should have caught that. Hell, that shit should have been pass interference. Look how quick the defender.
That one should have been thrown.
This shouldn't have been thrown because it was 800 flags. So you could blame that one on Brock Purdy if you don't blame the fourth one. But at the end of the day, it's just like if the rest would have called PI, it would have went our way. Instead, it was 3 flags on the 49ers on that play. And so, they just weren't in our favor. But Brock has to be the most competent player on the football field. So if you can throw touchdowns, you can take that fanfare and be great. But if you throw the interceptions, you got to take the heat. You got to take the heat, and it's okay.
Yeah. And I'll say this, 3 of his interceptions came without a running back in the backfield. Empty sets.
John, at the end of the day, when you look at an empty set and you say to yourself, why, Kyle?
Well, he wants to isolate matchups, and I think this is another problem.
That's fine, but you're playing against a very crazy, fast, tough defense. So you can go ahead.
I'm just saying, that very first drive out of the half, right? You come out, it's 3rd down. It was 3rd and 4.
Yes.
And we're in an empty set, and it's a very clear one-on-one. And whenever the film comes out, I'm excited to break this play down. It was so clear. Ayuk was one-on-one man coverage on the outside.
Yeah.
But the system, And this is why Brock's so great and why Kyle loves him so much, rightfully so. He will go to the system to a T. He knows the rules, and he's going to follow the rules. The rules say the hook to curl is going to be open to the slot wide receiver, but that's Willie Snead. That's Willie Snead. You have Ayuk one-on-one with their worst corner on the outside, but instead, my first read progression is the slot guy, which is Willie Snead. He throws that. It was incomplete. And it's just like, dude, how can you not check to
you're talking about coming out of the half. Okay, I got you. I just needed to.
Like, I love Brock, and he's going to do what the system always says, but at some point, it's Jimmy's and Joe's, not X's and O's. And you got to trust somebody that can cook one of their worst secondary player. Instead, we targeted Snead against their best secondary player. And it's things like that bother me. And that's not really a Brock thing. I think I walk away from this game, and I don't know if other people feel the same way. I'm more concerned about Kyle Shanahan and the concerns I've had of him for a long time. I love Kyle. If I could start a team and could choose any head coach in the NFL, I'm taking Kyle Shanahan first. I know people will disagree with that. That's okay. But it doesn't mean he doesn't have issues. There's some major issues there, in my opinion.
And it's not just your opinion, and I share the same sentiments with your opinion. It just, when the 49ers lose games, you got to start with the head coach. Now, I'm 100% on players having to be able to execute, but the coach has to be able to adapt and adjust to what he's seeing out on the football field. And the reason why Kyle Shanahan gets more flack than anybody else in the NFL, especially from us or from me, is the simple fact because he's the play caller. If he was a head coach and had a play caller, I'll be talking about the play caller. I'll be asking the head coach, why you not getting into the play caller? Well, you know what? Kyle Shanahan is the head coach, and he ain't going to get into himself. And so that's the narcissistic stuff that we talk about each and every time. It doesn't. I don't care if they were winning in the passing game. It doesn't matter. You had to know on certain sets that they were going to play the pass. And if they got more people in pass coverage, obviously because you're in an empty set, it's not rocket science that if that ball isn't thrown perfectly accurate right on the dime, it's going to be a pick. There's more people back there. There's 4 people rushing and 7 people back. It's just math, man. That math is mathing. So for Kyle Shanahan to ask about getting some type of crazy isolation, dude, you could figure out isolation. Move the motherfuckers in motion. You've been doing it all season, and now all of a sudden you want to spread it out? Nah, B. Not against this team with that secondary. It didn't make sense to me. I know I'm overreacting. I know I'm mad, but it just...
That's what these days are for, man. This
but it didn't make sense, though, John. Like if it made sense, like Kyle could limit those opportunities for Brock to make those type of, bad decisions. But he chose not to. Why? Why now? Because he was in the MVP race? Yeah. Kyle Shanahan single-handedly took Brock out of that so Brock can probably focus on winning the Super Bowl. I guarantee you won't see the same stuff from Brock Purdy for the remainder of the season, even in the playoffs. I'll put 100 on that.
I hope we rush the ball 30 times each game. You do that, and then Brock will return to what Brock is. And this game was an anomaly. You don't want it to happen again. I love these comments. Look at Bobo. He says, I saw Harbaugh treat Kyle like a child last night. Well, Harbaugh, he's not a coordinator. He's not a play caller. He's just the head coach, CEO. Back to kind of what you said there. Right here, I like this. Bobo, Kyle's so smart, he's stupid, overthinks everything. And whenever he gets flustered, pass only.
Kyle Shanahan is pinky and the brain.
There we go. Same thing we do every night. Run the ball never run the ball. Grant Ace, appreciate the super chat. The man, he says RG3 had a good take. Seemed like Kyle called the game for Purdy to win the MVP. No balance in the attack. Bro, man, I'm kind of against almost anything RG3 has to say about Kyle. Not that I'm against RG3, but he's got so many bones to pick with him, and it comes across every take he's ever had about Kyle.
And I agree with what you're saying, but I'm telling you, the game plan made minute sense. It made zero sense. It made negative integer sense. They moved
the ball though nonstop.
They did, but you have to understand that. All right, I'm passing on you, right? Let's go explosive play. Defense makes his adjustment, you turn the ball over. So Kyle, you have to adjust. Right? And he failed to do that. But when he did make the adjustment, what did we do? 13-12. That's what happened. And then the defense gives up 3 at the half because they give up explosive penalties, right? And then we come back and we end up punting because you get a bonehead penalty, or you couldn't, or you throw that hook and curl. I mean, I do wonder, John, do you think Brock was feeling comfortable with the play from the offensive line? He was getting pressured a lot. I felt like he got pressured more from the left side than the right side. Once McKivitt switched.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, yeah. Right.
It was bad from both. And if we look at the pressures,
20 freaking 2, bro. Ugh.
yeah, way too many pressures. And so, but having said that, like we talked about like all the movements. Colton McKivitz gave up 9 pressures.
9.
Most of those were after the switch. But then you got Spencer Burford gave up 4. He played less than 1/3 of the snaps. Like
He
that dude was
played-
getting posted. He playing out of position.
He was playing out of position. I'm just curious to know, because I'm not an offensive lineman, nor have I ever played it in my life. And I know it's difficult to go from the left side to the right side, but that's not the issue here because he's a right side guy. But he did get drafted as a right tackle, and they have been making him into a right guard. Is it that hard to switch from guard to tackle, even if you were naturally a tackle?
Some guys, it's easier to move from guard to tackle and stay on the same side. Some guys, it's easier to switch sides, left guard to right guard. But for him, he's hyper athletic, very physical guy. He's played left tackle in college at UTSA. He's played a lot. So I think the issue was, and I'm going to be honest, they were teeing off. Once he came in, we abandoned the running game completely, and it was just empty sets and whatever else with no chip help or anything. And we always talk about the offensive line. Christian McCaffrey was terrible in pass pro. He had a 14.7 pass protection grade.
Did you see the way that he had to block? Like he was blocking Jadeveon Clowney, bro. Listen, and that's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. Listen, once the Ravens were able to tee off, it was over. Like it was a wrap. But that was my point. Like even when Kyle tried to utilize Christian McCaffrey in the check and the release or whatever you want to call it, it was like so too late. And they were playing faster and more furious than the San Francisco 49ers. Like they were sending guys, they were blitzing. They blitzed a lot in this game. I don't care what they blitzed. Like they made sure that they had a guy, plenty of corner blitzes. How many times was Marlon Humphreys in the backfield? How many times did you see the other cornerback in the back? They blitzed. They did mainly corner blitzes, and it affected Brock Purdy. And
usually he's on fire versus the blitz. He was not yesterday.
Not against the corner blitz. I wonder if that's something that we need to chalk up, because these were corner blitzes. These weren't nickel blitzes. These weren't linebacker blitzes. These weren't those type of blitzes. These were literally outside guys lining up at the line of scrimmage because they knew that they can beat a struggling offensive line.
Yeah, I like it. Let's get through a couple more super chats, and I want to focus on some positive things because there's a lot of positives in this game. Colin, appreciate you, man. Thank you for your patience. He says, my fear with these injuries, if we don't get the bye, odds to get the big dance reduces in my mind. You're right. And so let's pull up just real quick. These are the current seedings, Colin, and what the bye week looks like. 49ers are still number 1.
Yeah.
Their first seed in the NFC. There are 3 teams with 11-4 records. You got the 49ers, the Eagles, and then you've got the Lions. Now, the 49ers own all the tiebreakers. We have a 2-game conference lead. But if the 49ers drop one of these last 2 games and the Eagles or the Lions win out, we would not be the 1 seed. In fact, we could fall to the 3 seed.
They can. And, let me just make it clear that beating the Ravens wouldn't have changed this.
No.
So even if we beat the Ravens,
it would have gave you cushion, but
it would have gave you a little bit of cushion, but you still could have lost next week or the week after that and been right back in this same situation, especially if Philly continues to win out or if the Detroit Lions continue to win out. And so, look, I still feel that the 49ers are the best team in the NFC.
Oh, considerably.
I don't think it's close. I don't care if they have to play Detroit, Tampa, Dallas, the Rams. That'll probably be in Seattle. Like, I feel like they own Seattle. I know that they own the Rams, but the Rams will be a funny team to play because they just seem to be the hottest team as of right now. But I don't think Philadelphia matches up well this year against the 49ers. I know the Cowboys don't match up well this year against the 49ers, and I feel like they can find a way to take advantage of the teams that they beat. So Detroit would be the only like outlier there because we haven't seen them. But you just stop the run. You take away the run on Detroit, you Gucci, right? You take away the run. Now they got a bad defense, but a high motor defensive line. And that is what you'll have to worry about if you had to play Detroit. The Niners are in first place. They continue to be in first place until they're not. So what they need to do, Fred Warner said it best. Man, one game, next game, what the next game. That's it. Next game. On to the next. Hey, this one sucked. We gave up the ghost. We lost. We got our butts handed to us. But know what? Let's focus on the short week. Let's get to Washington and let's do some damage. I don't care if they're a bad team. If they're a bad team, Niners need to prove why they're a good team and beat the hell out of the bad team. But you know what I expect? Washington to give their A-plus game, throw the kitchen sink at the San Francisco 49ers because Ron Rivera, is he still there? I think he's going to be gone after this season.
There, he'll be gone.
He'll be gone. I'm telling you, you're going to get kitchen sink, bathroom tub. You can get everything thrown at the San Francisco 49ers. And I promise you, my only concern is health going forward.
Yeah. And, you know, again, we're talking about the Commanders. So the 49ers have Commanders-Rams. Commanders lost 6 in a row, but now it's Jacoby Brissett time. They haven't announced who the starting quarterback's going to be, but Brissett hasn't thrown an interception whenever he's come in. So we'll have to see what that looks like. You look at the Eagles, they've got the Cardinals, then the Giants, which they almost lost to the Giants at home this week. And then you've got the Detroit Lions have the Cowboys
and the Vikings, I think.
And the Vikings, who almost beat them as well. So it's possible the 49ers could be the 1, 2, or 3 seed. Most likely they're the 1 seed, but football's football. Football, I mean, it just gets weird. It just gets weird whenever things happen. Right here, Bro Montana, appreciate the super chat. BP had a rough game. He bounced back after 3 losses too. That's what's key about Brock. Don't stay down. Yeah. Go back out there. Just keep slinging, man.
I agree.
Run the ball more, play action more, and then you protect your guy. That would be huge. Right here, this one I want to put to you, Wayne.
So, Shadow Shadow MWO. I'm sorry. Love the cat picture though. Your guys' opinion on Lamar after seeing him play. Lamar's just a dynamic player. He's a dynamic player, and he always will be a dynamic player because that's what's in his genes. His genes is to be dynamic, but it's not like Lamar gave us or put up MVP stats. Not against the 49ers. Now, did they win? Yes. Did he look good? Yes, at times. But the biggest MVP cushion that he gave himself was getting the win and not turning the ball over.
Yep.
So, at the end of the day, Lamar is always going to be an MVP candidate because of his dynamic ability to play the game of football. What do I mean by that? Getting outside the pocket and just throwing the ball on the run and being accurate and things like that, or avoiding sacks. I mean, the Niners probably had 7 sacks in this game. They only finished the game with 2 on him.
Yeah, and I'll say this. They had 2 players. Lamar's incredible. He's deserving of the MVP. It's him or Christian McCaffrey, in my opinion, now. Probably going to be Lamar. We got 2 games left. We'll see what happens. But it was him and Zay Flowers, and we never picked up on that. There were 2 players out there, and we couldn't stop those 2. Actually, I think the defense, I don't know, man. I go back to this, you know, and I don't like doing the whole blame thing, but if we look at the 4 losses that the 49ers had this year, it's kind of comical to me because these are the amount of points scored in our 4 losses, okay? Lost to the Browns, we scored 17 points. Lost to the Vikings, we scored 17 points. Lost to the Bengals, we scored 17 points. Lost to the Ravens, we scored 19 points, but 2 of them were by the damn defense.
Right.
That's 17 points in our 4 losses from our offense. They're laying eggs when the defense isn't phenomenal. And I think that the defense definitely was on par, but you play against 4 turnovers. That's 17 points off turnovers. That tied our offense.
And when you look at where the defense was put, their backs were against the wall the majority of the game, and they had to play 50 yards the whole game. It's not like they had to defend 80 yards or 90 yards or 75 yards. And when they did, they were able to force 3 and outs. Let's not put everything on the defense. It's just that there were specific plays, like a 3rd and 16, where Lamar showed you why he's MVP, right? Yeah. He's an extended play. You don't get him down, Chase Young, and then Fred Warner gets juked. Let me just make this clear. Lamar Jackson wouldn't have been able to make that tackle on Lamar Jackson. That's Lamar Jackson on a one-on-one, and I don't care how you squared up, because Fred was squared up. He just cut back in, and Fred falls. It's you guys don't watch basketball. It happens. That's what it was. I don't think anybody wouldn't have been able to make that one-on-one tackle. And so at that point, it was just what it was. He made a play. His only explosive run, 31 yards. At that point, Lamar Jackson had 6 rushing yards. Let that sink in. 6 rushing yards. The Niners defense had the book on Lamar Jackson. But John, when the defense are playing downfield and their backs are turned against them and they got to come back because the pass coverage is too damn good. Shoot, maybe don't let the pass coverage be too damn good against these mobile quarterbacks and just hope to get an interception if the quarterback has to still find a way to chuck. Why not just play with a spy? Why not just play with a spy? Even if he beats the spy, I'm cool with it, but why not play with a spy to keep him honest back there?
Yeah, it's rough because what they did was working. It was working. And, I think probably the biggest issue on defense, and I want to talk about this, Jair Brown, I thought, had his worst game as a pro.
4 missed tackles, John.
4 missed tackles, gave up a touchdown as well. And I feel like it's 4 missed tackles that he got his hands on players. There were 2 or 3 times where his angle was so bad, he wouldn't have tackled him in flag football.
He's not seeing the field right.
And so Steve Wilkes is putting him at free safety. I think you got to move him to more strong safety, personally. And I think long-term, I think free safety is where he's got to be at his best. But we saw this tape at Penn State. This was an issue. His pursuit angles in the open field, he's so aggressive, which is a wonderful trait. He just runs out of control. And, that was huge. A lot of big plays, a lot of first down conversions. And I feel like so far against Seattle, he was great both games.
Different type of receivers, though, right?
Terrible against the Eagles. Terrible against the Ravens.
When you got shifty guys, he's going to get beat. So when you look at Zay Flowers and you look at those shifty guys, I mean, him getting stiff-armed by Isaiah Likely that's like a poster. Like that's a poster. He got posterized by the tight end and muscle-bound face put into the ground, and that can't happen from a safety. You got to get the tight end down. Look, he's a rookie. I'm not giving him any slack. But I do know of a rookie for the San Francisco 49ers at one point that took the same type of poor angles, and he ended up being an all-pro. Yeah, so you got to give him time in the system. It's just that the Niners don't have time. They're in a Super Bowl winning now mode, but you drafted this kid, and so these are the growing pains you are going to get. You'll have some good days, and you'll have some bad days. And this was a bad day for Jair Brown.
Yeah, it was. And we got to grow through it. You got to grow through it. And so we'll see. Next week, guess what? You've got some very dynamic wide receivers, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel. You got some guys out there. Diami Brown. So their speed will be on the field again next week. We'll see how he answers. Now, let's talk about some positives. And I think this is huge because a lot of milestones are being hit that have never been hit before. Brock Purdy, even though it was a bad game, passed 4,000 passing yards on the season. This has not happened since the year 2000.
Jeff Garcia.
He's only a couple hundred yards away from the all-time franchise record for a single year. That's a big deal because we've never had a dynamic passer in freaking 25 years of this damn team. So,
that is a bright side, but stats don't wins or losses. Right? And I think that's why.
But we're up there in wins, too.
Wins or losses and getting your ass kicked on Monday Night Football is not good. So let's just let's be honest, and I'm going to be positive.
What have you done for me lately?
It's so quick, yo. It doesn't matter what you did the week before. It just doesn't matter. The NFL is so quick, it doesn't matter what you did the play before. And I think that's why the fan base or the media is going to not, even honor what he's been doing all season long. Now you got Brock Purdy being like the worst quarterback in the NFL, and how he's up there with those guys that are at the bottom or of the crop of the NFL as far as quarterbacks. Listen, Brock Purdy is still elite. I'm gonna keep it there. He will remain elite until he retires. Let's just keep it a buck. He had a bad game, and he'll shake it. But congrats for Brock Purdy. He has 4,050 yards on the season. He's going to break Jeff Garcia's record before the year is up. So shout out to Brock Purdy. The only thing I'm going to ask Brock to do if he's watching this show is get out your own head, young fella. You better than that, baby, because you got this. You got this, bro.
And I'll throw this out there. I saw this on Twitter. I don't know who to give credit to, but Joe Montana threw 4 interceptions the year they won the Super Bowl as well in one game.
Yes.
So, this is it. It happens. Shout out to Corey the man.
What's
he
up,
says,
Corey?
Wayne, salute you and John. You told the truth. The game was going to be difficult. Didn't expect it to be like that. We'll bounce back. Yeah, that's what it's about.
For sure.
That's what it's about. Now, sticking with milestones, there's a lot of other players that are close. George Kittle, he's 9 yards away from his third 1,000-yard season as a receiver.
Which means that the Niners will have 2,000 1-yard receivers on the season. That's a milestone, right? That's another milestone. Listen, George Kittle was abusing Marcus Williams. I don't know why they stopped that. But yeah. I feel like they adjusted. The Ravens adjusted on defense, and they forced Purdy to throw the ball elsewhere. Plus, his clock was sped up. So, look, it is what it is, but George Kittle is going to be 1,000-yard receiving tight end for the San Francisco 49ers on the season. So congrats to George Kittle. He literally was trying to take the matters into his own hand. They just couldn't get it to him more.
Yeah.
He led the team in receiving, too.
Yeah, he had a game and it had a drop, which led to, that was rough.
Can we talk about that drop? Because I know we ain't watched it again, but it was a high pass, and he just didn't come down with it. So, it wasn't the perfect throw, and I'm not asking throws to be perfect. It did hit his hand, but it was like an off-schedule type, I got to go up and grab it, 50-50 ball. I just feel like it was a tough pass for him to catch.
It was, but I go back to this. When your quarterback who's young is struggling, it is the job of vets to lift up.
Agreed.
And I thought Debo has had a hell of a year. He's 166 yards away from 1,000 yards.
He had a couple drops, too.
He had 2 drops in a year where Debo hadn't had any drops. Debo has corrected his issues, but, man, he had 4 catches on 10 targets with 2 drops. You got to bail out your quarterback when he's struggling. And I do feel like
one of those passes was behind him, though. So, is that a drop?
Bad pass. If it hits you in the palm of the hands, both palms, you got to make that catch. I know it's not easy. And that's the thing. It's not so much I'm mad at Debo. It's just, look, when people are around you are struggling. Yeah. Last week, I was coughing. I still am coughing a little bit. And I told Wade, you got to carry this.
Yeah.
You lifted the whole show because, man, I'm struggling over here. Still am struggling, but that's okay. So let's talk about this. I'm curious your opinion on this as I cough, as Wayne takes over. It helps me because I'm struggling now.
Nigel, he says, how was not having Jennings there impact the run game? And look, Jennings is he's the best blocking wide receiver on the San Francisco 49ers. So it made a huge impact on the run game in a way, because if I go through it, I probably can count 5 explosive run plays out of the 18. So I don't know if him not being there really was that much of an impact. I don't know if him not being there is the reason why we didn't run the ball more. You had Willie Snead out there. If I can go to the blocking, I'm curious to know what his blocking grade was in this particular game, because that's why he was probably called up in this game. So Willie Snead had a 66.2 blocking run grade. He was 6th on the list. The only other wide receiver other than Brandon Ayuk, than Brandon Ayuk, which had a 75.6 run block grade. I think that's what I'm seeing. So, look, that's why he was out there. I'm sure if Jawan Jennings was out there, it seemed like he was getting into the groove to where you would have had better, maybe outside zone runs. But I don't know. The Niners just didn't really stick to the run game like I thought that they would. That's the first and foremost thing that they need to do every game. It shouldn't matter who's out there. They got to find a way to establish the run and not become one dimensional. I believe that Jawan Jennings back would definitely help the run game more.
Yes.
But again, they had some good explosive runs in this game.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, like if we were running the ball just fine, you just can't abandon it, and that was the issue. Now, I did want to play this clip. This is from Purdy, just on the reality of the NFL and kind of how it humbles you.
For me, it's like, I got to ask myself, all right, like who are you? What do you stand for? Who are you when things are good? Who are you when things don't go your way? It's easy to, be riding the high and thinking you're the man when things are going well, winning games and all that kind of stuff, and you don't really see, a whole lot of adversity in some games and whatnot. And this is the reality of the NFL. And so for myself, I obviously have to look myself in the mirror, watch the plays where I need to get better, make some cleaner decisions, help my team, put up points and score and protect the ball. And when things don't go my way, it's understanding, I can't be acting out. I have to be real with myself and be better. But I want to be the same guy every day, be consistent in what I do and how I do things, whether things are going well or not. I know who I am, and I'm not going to waver in that. So I've said that before, and I'll continue to hang my hat on that.
I do like the way that he's the same.
Absolutely.
He's always the freaking same.
He's a class act, John.
He's a good dude.
He's a great dude. And this is not challenging him in any kind of way as far as his character. And just before that question, he was asked, he took full accountability and how he has to be better, and this is that and the third. And I know we probably hear that from all the quarterbacks out there, but now you can tell like it's a genuine thing. If Brock feels like if he's not the best out there, he can't enable everybody else to be better. And so, yeah, John, you're 100% right when you said that those playmakers got to go out there and catch those passes. Like it's hard for me to throw a guy like Deebo Samuel under the bus when he literally tried to keep this game going by catching a short pass, which wasn't a great pass from Brock, and then finding a way to get the first down and taking the hit on the helmet and looked like he was concussed. And how about the screen pass from Deebo Samuel where he gets blown up in the backfield by Marlon Humphrey and shakes it off, brushes it off, and gets you 6 yards. So listen, he was there. He just wasn't as dynamic, probably because the Niners didn't use him like they normally would. I think he had one run in this game. And then when you look at it, you're saying to yourself, dude, you get to the 1 yard line with Sam Darnold. Why isn't Deebo Samuel on the football field?
No jet sweeps, no end arounds, no misdirection, no play action boots.
What?
Yeah.
Sam Darnold on a play action boot could have walked in. They tried to attempt to pass with the fake to Kyle Juszczyk. I mean, whoever it was. No, yeah. Kyle. I'm getting more frustrated because I really feel like the Niners lost this game due to poor play calling and execution. And let me put something in clarity. The Niners had every opportunity to find a way to win this game with 4 turnovers at that point. They still had an opportunity. It only got blown out of proportion when the defense just was gassed.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. This next one, if you weren't upset, here you go. This is Bobo's super chat. You got to read that one. I ain't read it.
That's so messed up, yo. Conspiracy time, John. Still signs like Jim Harbaugh. Let's be clear. Jim ain't stealing anything. He might have paid the person to steal it, but he ain't steal it. Okay?
Little Michigan shot there.
That hurt. That hit me deep.
Colin, he said, appreciate the super chat. He says, as an Aussie, love Mitch, but just punt. That hit was for real, way out of bounds. It's not even the punter's first personal foul penalty.
It's not. We haven't had one in a minute for Mitch, but he's way out of bounds. I'm not mad at Colin for this take, but Mitch was the most aggressive motherfucker on the football field. I tell you what, most aggressive. He was tired. He was probably tired of punting the damn ball.
Man, it's frustrating. Right here, Sonia, she says, John, what happens to the seeding? Are we still hopeful to end with the 1 seed? Yeah, 100% we're still there. If the playoffs were to start today, 49ers would have first round bye. The 2-7 matchup would be Eagles versus Seahawks. The 3-6 would be Lions, Rams. The 4-5 would be Bucks, Cowboys. And then the 49ers would play the lowest seed that wins those first 3 games. We would be paired up with them. So probably one of Seahawks, Rams, or Cowboys. One of those teams would upset. And that's the thing. Like, you know, I said this after the game. The 49ers are not the best team in the NFL currently. They're not.
And it's okay, though.
But they are the best team in the NFC still.
Agreed.
Because you look at you wax the floor on the road, 23-point victory. Like, how bad was that victory? We lost by 14 points. That's huge. We beat the Eagles by 23.
We were the number one team
Cowboys
at the time, too.
by 32 or 30, yeah. I think. 32?
It don't matter. We whipped that
10,
ass.
32. So, like, as bad as that loss was, the 49ers have better wins against the number 2 and number 5 team out there. You've already beat the Seahawks twice. You beat the Rams once. You get to play them one more time. So, like, you have destroyed this conference already.
I mean, just look, I'm a big, huge person on records. And so, you know, I was getting into an argument yesterday. Not really an argument. I find myself trying not to go back and forth on Twitter because it's like a power struggle, and I got the power, so I don't need to give you any. So at the end of the day, it's just like, okay, you got it. But it's like, dude, we got beat by the best team in football. Therefore, there's no way in the world we could be the best if we got beat by the best. And let's just say we were the best coming into the game. Well, there's an old cliche that says to be the best, you gotta beat the best. The Ravens beat the best. End the discussion, drop the bomb on them, and move the freak on. Luckily, the San Francisco 49ers have 2 more games. Luckily, that was an AFC game. And at this point, let's just keep it a buck, call spade a spade. The Niners, I don't want to say are less physical than the AFC North, but they got their asses handed to them by the AFC North this season.
Sure did.
And I thought Pittsburgh was just as physical. The Niners just had a better game plan, and you know what? They stuck to it. They didn't care how over progressive they were going to be on defense as far as the Pittsburgh Steelers. They continued to find a way to run the ball. I didn't see that in this game. I didn't see that in the Cleveland Browns game. I'm telling you, when they go against the grain, against their game plan or the formula of what works, they lose.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, one-dimensional teams, it's not good. We're physical. You need to run the ball to impose that will, and they did not do this. I love this question from Thomas. Can we beat the last 2 teams without Trent and Armstead?
That's a good question.
I think you can. One, you beat the Rams in the past without Trent.
Yeah, you had McKivitz at left tackle in that particular game, which is why I couldn't figure out like why he was struggling. I think it was just he struggles against physicality and speed. Like when it's a perfect combination of physicality and speed, he struggles. I know people don't like Jadeveon Clowney, but he was a monster in this game as far as
he
pressures.
He has his best games against the 49ers every damn year.
Don't care what team he plays on, right? Seahawks, Cleveland Browns, it doesn't matter. It must be something like he must have thought that the Niners wanted him, and it's one of those games, like Big Play Dre. So, yeah.
Yeah. Right here, Tommy says, this dime store O-line is a liability. And I think you tagged it correctly, Tommy. The 49ers are spending money on a lot of great top-tier talented players. You got to go cheap somewhere in the salary cap era. They have chosen left guard, center, right guard, right tackle, cheap. Yeah. You're paying Trent,
draft
and he is
cheap. Yeah.
And so that's just kind of the way it goes. Right here, Jason, can we talk about the O-line? Yeah, like that's the issue with where we currently are. Now, how do you protect the offensive line and pass protection? Run the ball, move the pocket. We didn't do either of those 2 things. I hate to keep going back to this.
And that's why we're here, right, John? To remind the faithful that we didn't stick to the game plan.
Yeah.
And I understand that we threw the ball an astronomical amount of times at the, to some of pass attempts. But at the end of the day, this game could have still been controlled if we just ran the ball successfully. And so, like, even if they do stack 7 in the box, then where's the boot actions? Where are the plays? Where are the high percentage successful plays from Kyle Shanahan? You could have, whether you had Brock Purdy on a naked boot or somebody running right in front of him with a level over on the top, a layer over the top, so he can make a one-on-one layer throw. Like, you saw none of that. Like, none of it. It's just I can't figure it out. What's going on, Phil?
Dude, he's the best. And like, having said all those things, Wade, I'm with you.
I
They
like
moved
this,
the
Phil.
ball. They had over 100 yards, almost 100 yards total offense over the Ravens. You just turned the ball over, didn't cash in the red zone. That's what it is. Phil, appreciate Super Chat. He says, got to beat the Eagles in the NFC Championship and Ravens in the Super Bowl. That's what I want, man. I want revenge always.
Always.
I am bitter. I hold grudges. I am petty. And I always will be. And I don't want that to change. I actually like that about myself. And yeah, I always want revenge. I got a list, just like Santa with the rosy cheeks. I'm checking that twice, and I want to beat the hell out of these damn teams.
Or,
I'm with you, Phil.
Uncle Phil, you got to beat the Rams in the NFC Championship game and then beat the Ravens in the Super Bowl. Either way, it's revenge time.
Dude, it's coming. Colin, appreciate it. He said, if this is replayed, I do, by the way, I don't know. I doubt the same outcome, I think is what he said. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I get it. If you take away those interceptions, it's the turnovers change the game. And I think on an Instagram comment from like an NFL, CBS or something, I said I can't remember the last time I saw a team win a game with 5 turnovers. And then this bum going to comment, well, Tony Romo did it with the Dallas Cowboys, like with 6, and they overcame it. This is a different football, but like, yeah, okay, so I was wrong. But literally, I didn't see that game, so I was technically right. I haven't seen a game where a team can overcome the adversity of 5 turnovers. And even at that point, with 3 turnovers or 2 turnovers, like the Niners still looked like they had an opportunity and they just could not cash in. And the defense couldn't get any turnovers. So
yeah, I like that. Well said. Matthew, my man, RTP, he says, Shanahan is checking all the traps to see what the Niners can and can't do moving forward, even at the expense of an L. Didn't hurt us in the standings.
There it is.
There we go. What about this one? I like this one. Did you see this?
I didn't see this. On a lighter note, did you guys see the exchange between Harbaugh and Brock saying that people pointed out that they look alike? Now, that's funny, and that is a definitely a lighter note. But yeah, that would be that's funny. I didn't see that.
Yeah, whenever they went up at the end of the thing, Harbaugh was like, "Hey, I'm told we look alike."
That's so cool, man. That's so cool.
I do like Harbaugh. Now, that's going to bring this show to a close. Sorry, my voice is like, I'm struggling over here if you're watching the video. But I'm glad that we got this in. We're going to be breaking down all kinds of stuff. Talk to us about what you got on Patreon. What's going to be up on there this week, Wayne?
Awesome. So, guys, if you want to go and subscribe to the Patreon, I'm going to be going through the explosive plays, all positive, all negative explosive plays, both on the offense, on the defense, every scoring play. It's all on one film. It's a nice little sit down, grab yourself a little bite to eat. And I'm going to break it down on what we're seeing as far as the coverages, play calls, things like that. And so it's really good and fun to watch. And then every day right here on the YouTube channel, you get the No Harm, No Foul show at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Mike Andrews from Nothing But Niners. And then the Wayne Breezy show is Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 1 p.m. John will be with us this Friday. We'll be simulcasting all week long. So he'll be back on Friday, and we'll have the game plan into beating the Washington Commanders with John.
That's what's up, man. This has been a blast. Appreciate everybody. And I want Wayne to take us out of this, but guys, don't lose sight of where the 49ers are. You're the 1 seed. You're the 1 seed in the NFC. Everything is right there. You got 2 games left. I think you're favored by like 13 points going on the road this week. Everything's chill. There's some things to work on, and you want to have those things exposed before you get to the dance. Just got to take care of business. Wayne, take us out of here, my friend.
Well, the good news is the 49ers know why they lost, right? They know why they lost. They turned the ball over. You can't win the game when you're turning the ball over and you're not getting turnovers yourselves to give you, or takeaways, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, when is the last time the San Francisco 49ers literally turned the ball over? I mean, they were probably at the bottom of the league, and now they probably shot up with 5-1 games. So, guys, there's a bright side to this. And the only thing I'm asking everybody to do is find a way to remain faithful. Look, this is all good therapy. This is what we're going to be bringing you every time, every week. We're going to give you that time so you guys can release, check and release. But as we're checking and releasing, know that the 49er players are also checking and releasing. And like Fred Warner says, on to the next. I'm going to ask the faithful to move on to the next. No reason to sit here and look at this game. It doesn't hurt the 49ers in any kind of way. Did we want to win? For sure. Did we win? Absolutely not. But on to the next. Washington Commanders, get ready because we coming. John and Wayne. See you next time.